That's former President Trump inside a New York City courthouse where he is a defendant in a civil fraud case. The camera was briefly allowed inside, and it caught Mr. Trump locked in a stare-down with the judge.
After Trump was found guilty of fraud in his business dealings in New York, his lawyers tried to pull off a devious scam to try and change the judgment and stop the former president from paying the hefty fine that he was slapped with. Well, it's safe to say that the judge instantly caught wind of the plot and instantly squashed it. And now Trump may regret his decision to try and deceive the court. So what really happened? Trump tries to scam judge.
Donald Trump and the staggering fine. A judge in New York fining Trump $355 million in his civil fraud case for exaggerating the value of his properties, defrauding lenders by inflating the values of his properties for years to get better and bigger loans and insurance deals.
In the world of high finance, few individuals have experienced the highs and lows quite like Donald Trump. From his days as a real estate mogul to his tumultuous presidency, Trump's financial journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. However, his recent legal battles and mounting debt have thrust him into a financial crisis of epic proportions. Recently, New York Attorney General Letitia James fought tooth and nail to block Trump from leaving New York and relocating his business to Florida. With Trump owing New York State a staggering $454 million, including interest, after a civil fraud trial, the stakes were high in this legal battle. In a letter to Judge Arthur Engoron, James argued that the Trump Organization's business activities are carried out at Manhattan's iconic Trump Tower, making the address change invalid. But what is the background of this legal battle? The story begins with Donald Trump, the renowned New York real estate mogul who built an empire on the foundation of his business acumen and deal-making prowess. Trump's rise to fame and fortune was marked by his larger-than-life persona and his ability to turn seemingly ordinary properties into gold mines. However, behind the glitz and glamour, a darker truth was lurking. It all started in 2011 when Trump, seeking to bolster his financial standing, began inflating the values of his properties on financial filings. By exaggerating the worth of assets like Mar-a-Lago and Trump Tower, he aimed to secure favorable interest rates and loans from banks and insurers. This deceptive practice continued for a decade, with Trump living in a fantasy world of his own creation. But the truth has a way of catching up, and in 2022, the Trump Organization faced a criminal tax fraud case that would expose the extent of their fraudulent activities. A jury found the organization guilty of enriching its top executives with off-the-books benefits for over a decade. This conviction laid the groundwork for the civil case that would follow. In September of that same year, New York Attorney General Letitia James, a Democrat, filed a civil lawsuit against Trump, his adult children, the Trump Organization, and several executives. The lawsuit accused them of massively inflating property values and lying on financial statements to secure large sums of money at favorable interest rates. James sought a fine of $370 million, aiming to hold Trump accountable for his fraudulent practices. The case went to trial in late 2022, lasting a grueling 43 days. Over the course of the trial, 40 witnesses took the stand, including Trump himself and his two adult sons, Donald Jr. and Eric. The courtroom was a battleground of conflicting narratives, with Trump vehemently denying any wrongdoing and claiming that the case was nothing more than a politically motivated witch hunt. The trial focused on determining the penalties that should be imposed on Trump and his co-defendants. The prosecution presented evidence that revealed the extent of the fraudulent practices employed by the Trump Organization. One instance that stood out was the revelation that Trump's financial statements had falsely claimed his Trump Tower penthouse was nearly 3 times its actual size. This deliberate inflation of property values allowed Trump to secure loans and interest rates that were far more favorable than he deserved. Throughout the trial, Judge Arthur Engoron presided over the proceedings, carefully considering the evidence and arguments presented by both sides. His ruling would have far-reaching implications for Trump and his business empire. On a fateful day in February 2024, Judge Engoron delivered his decision, ordering Trump to pay $355 million and imposing a 3-year ban on him serving as a company director or taking out loans from banks in New York State. The judge's ruling was scathing, highlighting the lack of contrition and remorse displayed by Trump and his co-defendants. Engoron referred to their actions as the frauds found here leap off the page and shock the conscience. He emphasized the need for a significant penalty to deter future fraudulent behavior, citing the Trump Organization's previous conviction in the criminal tax fraud case as evidence of of their likelihood to continue their deceitful ways. However, it is worth noting that the ruling spared Trump's companies from having their business licenses canceled, which could have resulted in bankruptcy. Instead, the judge implemented 2 tiers of oversight, including an independent monitor and a separate independent director of compliance. These measures were aimed at ensuring accountability and preventing future fraudulent practices within the Trump organization. As the case progressed, Trump and his lawyers found themselves facing the imminent entry of judgment. Fearing the consequences, they hatched a scandalous plan to delay the judgment and potentially hide assets by changing the business addresses of the Trump organization. On February 21st, Trump's lawyers sent a letter to Judge Arthur Engoron, the presiding judge in the case. In this letter, they requested a stay, a legal term referring to the suspension of a court's judgment or order. Trump's lawyers claimed that there were errors in the proposed judgment submitted by the New York Attorney General, particularly regarding the addresses of certain defendants. In response to Trump's lawyers' request, Justice Arthur Engoron asked for additional information about the discrepancies in the proposed judgment. He wanted clarification on what Trump's lawyers wanted to include in the judgment that differed from the New York Attorney General's version. Trump's lawyers swiftly responded to the judge's request for additional information. In their letter, they claimed that several addresses in the proposed judgment were incorrect. They specifically highlighted the Donald Trump Revocable Trust, which controlled other LLCs within the Trump organization. Trump's lawyers argued that the Revocable Trust was not based in New York, but in Florida. The New York Attorney General's office wasted no time in responding to Trump's lawyers' claims. They firmly stated that there was no need for any motions or changes to the judgment. According to them, the entities in question were located in Trump Tower at 725 Fifth Avenue in New York, where the executives responsible for the business activities of those entities worked. They cited various filings to support their jurisdictional stance. In their filing, the AG said, "Several of the addresses for the defendants in the proposed judgment are incorrect. The court should reject defendants' attempt to change the business address of 6 entity defendants to Florida, as the record establishes those entities are located in Trump Tower at 725 Fifth Avenue in New York, the office building in which the executives who carry out business activities of those entities work." This crucial argument forms the backbone of James's case against Trump's address change. She was determined to prevent Trump from evading his financial obligations and ensure that justice is served. The stakes are undeniably high in this legal battle. Every day that Trump fails to cover the bill, the amount he owes increases by more than $87,000. Letitia James has made it clear that she plans to seize Trump's assets if he does not settle his debt. This looming threat adds a sense of urgency to the proceedings, as Trump's financial future hangs in the balance. On the other side of the courtroom, Trump's legal team is fighting back. They have requested a 1-month delay in enforcing the multi-million-dollar judgment against him, accusing Letitia James of rushing the process. Trump's attorneys argue that several of the addresses listed in James's proposed judgment are incorrect. They claim that the proper address for the entities in question is in Florida, including the Mar-a-Lago estate, the Trump National Golf Club in Jupiter, and the Trump National Doral, Miami. In a decisive move, the judge rejected Trump's lawyers' claims and stood firm on his previous decision. He declared that Trump's lawyers had failed to provide any basis for a stay and expressed confidence that the appellate division would protect Trump's appellate rights. With this rejection, the judgment against Trump was set to be entered. "You have failed to explain, much less justify, any basis for a stay. I am confident that the appellate division will protect your appellate rights," the judge wrote to Trump's lawyer. The revelation of this scandalous scheme sent shockwaves through the legal community and the public alike. It became clear that Trump and his lawyers were attempting to buy time by changing the business addresses of the Trump organization to Florida addresses. Their aim was to create a jurisdictional issue that would require the New York Attorney General to pursue the judgment separately in Florida, potentially delaying the process and complicating the enforcement of the judgment. This devious plan, disguised as a mere address change, exposed the lengths to which Trump was willing to go to protect his assets and evade accountability. It was a last-ditch effort to manipulate the legal system and hinder the enforcement of the judgments against him. It seems the legal system has stood firm against Trump's manipulative tactics, with the New York Attorney General's office countering his claims and the judge rejecting his lawyers' arguments. The judgment against Trump was entered, leaving him vulnerable to the potential seizure of his assets. The aftermath of this scandalous revelation left no doubt that Trump's actions will have far-reaching consequences. The judgments against him, coupled with the public scrutiny and legal responses, created a challenging landscape for the former president. The truth had been exposed, and the pursuit of justice was now in motion. With Engoron's rejection of the request to stay the judgment, Trump will now have to either pay the fine or post his cash bond to launch an appeal. All signs point to an appeal being the more likely option. If he does not have the liquid assets required, he could be forced to sell off some of his real estate. Should Trump appeal the judgment, which he has signaled he plans to do, it is likely to be a costly fight. Even before he files an appeal, Trump would have to deposit the full amount he's been ordered to pay into a court account under New York law. Due to the size of the award, he's expected to obtain a bond, which would have him paying somewhere in the $400 million range even before he appeals. Trump has 30 days from when a judgment is entered to post bond and appeal. Trump lawyer Christopher Kise recently told the press that the former president remains confident the appellate division will ultimately correct the innumerable and catastrophic errors made by a trial court untethered to the law or to reality. As the legal battle rages on, the world watches with anticipation. Will Trump be able to navigate his way out of this financial crisis? Can he find a way to settle his debt and salvage his reputation? The answers to these questions remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. Trump's financial troubles have thrust him into uncharted territory. Trump's legal troubles.
A New York judge has handed former President Trump a crushing defeat in his civil fraud case by offering him to pay a staggering penalty of $355 million.
In addition to the financial penalties imposed on Trump, his two adult sons, Donald Jr. and Eric, were each ordered to pay $4 million. They were also barred from doing business in New York for 2 years. Alan Weisselberg, the former chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, was ordered to pay $1 million. Furthermore, Trump, his company, and its affiliates were prohibited from applying for loans in New York for 3 years. The ruling sent shockwaves through the Trump family and their loyal supporters. Donald Jr. took to social media claiming that the judgment was politically motivated, while Eric denounced the judge as a cruel man. The Trumps vowed to appeal the ruling, refusing to accept responsibility for their fraudulent actions. This ruling marks a significant turning point in the legal battles surrounding Donald Trump. It serves as a reminder that no one, not even a former president, is above the law. The case highlights the importance of transparency and honesty in business dealings and the severe consequences that await those who choose to deceive and defraud. One of the key allegations centered around Trump's flagship property, the iconic Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan. The prosecution presented evidence that Trump had falsely claimed his penthouse in the tower was nearly 3 times its actual size. This deliberate exaggeration allowed him to secure loans and interest rates that were far more favorable than he deserved. The courtroom was captivated by the testimony of real estate appraisers and accountants who were called to the stand. These experts meticulously dissected the financial filings and exposed the discrepancies between the claimed values and the actual worth of the properties. They revealed a pattern of deception and manipulation that spanned over a decade. But it wasn't just the properties themselves that were subject to fraudulent practices. The prosecution also highlighted instances where Trump and his co-defendants manipulated financial data to secure tax breaks and other benefits. One such example was Mar-a-Lago, Trump's luxurious Palm Beach estate. Despite its true market value being assessed at $27 million, Trump claimed it was worth a staggering $517 million on financial filings, exploiting the classification of the property as a social club to gain tax advantages. The evidence presented during the trial painted a damning picture of Trump's business practices. Testimonies from former employees and associates revealed a culture of deceit and pressure to inflate property values. Michael Cohen, Trump's former fixer, testified that the ex-president would speak like a mob boss, urging him and Alan Weisselberg, the former chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, to manipulate property values to meet desired net worth goals and present a false image of wealth and success to secure favorable loans and interest rates. The prosecution argued that this deliberate deception not only defrauded financial institutions, but also undermined the integrity of the entire financial system. Throughout the trial, Trump vehemently denied any wrongdoing, maintaining his innocence and claiming that the case was politically motivated. He argued that all aspects of real estate valuation, including the square footage of properties, were subjective and open to interpretation. As anyone would expect, Trump was having none of it and quickly responded to the ruling saying, "A crooked New York State judge just ruled I have to pay a fine for $355 million for having built a perfect company," the former president said from Mar-a-Lago on Friday, calling the ruling a political witch hunt. It's a very sad day for, in my opinion, the country. According to many people, Trump may have a point, especially when it comes to Mar-a-Lago. According to real estate experts, the judge cited a basic Palm Beach assessor valuation that ranged from $18 million to $28 million between 2011 and 2021, with industry sources saying it fails to take into consideration the fair market value. This valuation is far from Trump's 1985 purchase price of $10 million, $8 million less than what the judge declared it was worth today. It is also important to note that Trump got a deal on Mar-a-Lago nearly 40 years ago. At the time, the historical estate was listed at $20 million. To put it in perspective, a 2-acre wooded lot at 1980 South Ocean Boulevard, just 5 minutes from Mar-a-Lago, is currently listed for $150 million. Mar-a-Lago, situated at 1100 South Ocean Boulevard, dwarfs this lot tenfold and operates as a commercial business with around 500 members as part of the golf club. Also nearby, a 2.3-acre plot of land at 1071 N Ocean Boulevard is on the market for a sky-high $200 million. On the other hand, Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate boasts a sprawling 20 acres. Forbes had appraised the property, which is made up of 128 rooms, at approximately $160 million in 2018, following extensive renovations and its exclusive Palm Beach location on Billionaires Row. The property includes a 20,000-square-foot ballroom, 5 clay tennis courts, and a sprawling waterfront pool. And in the 5 years since, Palm Beach properties have only increased in value. With this type of evidence, who ran unopposed in the general election on November 3, 2015, it is no surprise that truckers feel that Trump is being targeted unfairly. Interestingly, Trump revealed in a rally that his current legal woes are all Biden's doing.
I saw something the other day that was incredible. He's taking questions. And again, I wouldn't talk this way, but he indicted me. Can you imagine? I got indicted. I'd never heard the Wharton School of Finance. They didn't have a subject on you get indicted. It wasn't like something you think about.
Trump has been hit with numerous indictments ever since Biden got into office. These indictments, which include both state and federal charges, have rocked the nation and shed light on a series of alleged criminal activities. With a total of 91 felony charges, the gravity of the situation cannot be understated. From falsifying business records to mishandling classified government documents and even attempting to overturn the 2020 presidential election, Trump finds himself at the center of a legal storm. As the trials approach, the nation eagerly awaits the truth to be revealed and justice to be served.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted by the Manhattan grand jury that we've been following for months now. This makes Trump the first former president in history to face these types of criminal charges. Those charges related to alleged hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels in the final days of Mr. Trump's 2016 presidential campaign.
In March 2023, a bombshell indictment was filed against Donald Trump in New York, sending shockwaves through the political landscape. This indictment, which has captured the attention of the nation, revolves around 34 criminal charges of falsifying business records in the first degree. The charges are directly related to payments made to none other than the infamous adult film star Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 presidential election. In March 2018, Stormy Daniels claimed in a sit-down interview with 60 Minutes that she had a sexual relationship with Donald in 2006.
Why did you have sex with him?
I have no idea.
The details of this indictment are nothing short of jaw-dropping. It alleges that Trump, through his business dealings, intentionally falsified records to conceal the true nature and purpose of the payments made to Stormy Daniels. These payments, which amounted to a staggering sum, were allegedly made to ensure her silence about an alleged affair with Trump. This was not the only indictment Trump faced.
The 44-page indictment released Friday alleges that Trump stored boxes of classified documents in several rooms at Mar-a-Lago, on the stage in the ballroom, basement, a bathroom, in the shower, and some contain the nation's top secret.
In June 2023, another bombshell indictment rocked the nation as Donald Trump found himself at the center of a federal case in the sunny state of Florida. This indictment, which has sent shockwaves through the political landscape, includes a staggering 40 criminal charges against Trump. These charges are related to his alleged mishandling of classified government documents and conspiracy to obstruct the government in retrieving these crucial documents. The details of this indictment are nothing short of astonishing. It alleges that Trump, while serving as the President of the United States, knowingly and willfully mishandled sensitive government documents. These documents, which contained classified information vital to national security, were allegedly mishandled in a manner that jeopardized their confidentiality and integrity. Furthermore, the indictment claims that Trump conspired to obstruct the government's efforts to retrieve these classified documents. The alleged conspiracy involved individuals within Trump's inner circle who are believed to have aided and abetted him in his efforts to impede the government's investigation and prevent the recovery of the documents. The trial for this sensational case is scheduled for May 20th, 2024, and the anticipation is reaching a fever pitch. The prosecution will present a compelling case, aiming to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump knowingly and intentionally mishandled classified government documents and conspired to obstruct justice. If convicted, the consequences could be severe, with potential penalties including substantial fines and even imprisonment. But more was to come for Trump.
A federal grand jury here in Washington has voted to indict the former president for his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election.
In August 2023, the political landscape was rocked once again as a federal indictment was handed down against Donald Trump in the heart of Washington, D.C. This indictment, which has sent shockwaves through the nation, is directly related to Trump's alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. The charges against him include 4 criminal counts: conspiring to defraud the government and disenfranchise voters, as well as corruptly obstructing an official proceeding. The details of this indictment are nothing short of astonishing. It alleges that Trump, in his capacity as the President of the United States, engaged in a concerted effort to undermine the democratic process and subvert the will of the American people. The indictment claims that he conspired with others to defraud the government by spreading false information, disenfranchising voters, and obstructing the official proceedings that sought to certify the election results. In the same month, the political landscape was once again rocked by a stunning indictment, this time in the state of Georgia. Donald Trump found himself at the center of this indictment, facing a shocking 13 criminal charges related to alleged attempts to overturn Joe Biden's victory in Georgia.
A grand jury in Georgia has indicted former President Donald Trump as part of an investigation into efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
What makes this indictment even more astonishing is that Trump is not alone in this case. He is joined by 18 accused co-conspirators, including notable figures like Rudy Giuliani and Mark Meadows. The details of this indictment are nothing short of mind-blowing. It alleges that Trump and his co-conspirators engaged in a coordinated effort to subvert the democratic process and undermine the legitimacy of the 2020 presidential election. The charges range from election fraud to racketeering, painting a picture of a vast conspiracy aimed at overturning the will of the voters in Georgia.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state. I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
The alleged attempts to overturn Joe Biden's victory in Georgia involved a series of actions that sought to undermine the integrity of the electoral process. These actions included spreading false information, pressuring election officials, and even attempting to manipulate the vote count. The indictment claims that Trump and his co-conspirators were willing to go to extreme lengths to achieve their goal of overturning the election results. After Trump's guilty verdict and the court's order to have him pay more than $350 million, things are not looking up for the former president, leaving many to wonder whether he may indeed face prison time from his other indictments. Only time will tell. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.